The rain didn't fall gently. It slammed down on the concrete like it had something personal to settle with the city. In downtown Detroit, the kind of rain that erased reflections from glass towers and turned streetlights into trembling halos. Marcus Bell stood near the kitchen island of a luxury condo he didn't own, staring at a woman he believed he had finally outgrown. Naomi Bell stood across from him, barefoot on imported marble, one hand resting low on her stomach. 7 months pregnant. Quiet. Still. The kind of stillness people mistake for weakness because it doesn't beg, doesn't interrupt, doesn't perform. Her locks were pulled back into a loose wrap, not for style, but because nausea had been hitting her all evening and tight things made it worse. She wore an oversized hoodie Marcus had once mocked as giving up. Marcus didn't see a pregnant woman. He saw an inconvenience. "You're not listening," he said, pacing. His voice echoed too sharply in the open-plan space, bouncing off steel and glass like it wanted witnesses. "I can't keep pretending this is enough. I'm moving forward, Naomi. I'm leveling up." Naomi didn't respond. Her silence made him angrier than tears ever could. Marcus had always hated silence in women. He preferred reaction, noise, gratitude, even fear. Silence felt like judgment, and Marcus Bell did not like being judged by someone he believed he had rescued. Behind him, his phone buzzed again. He didn't check it. He already knew who it was. Sabrina Cole didn't text once. She sent sequences, little confirmations of devotion, pictures of hotel rooms, screenshots of flight bookings, proof that another woman believed in his potential. "I'm done being the only one with ambition," Marcus continued, his tone slipping into that rehearsed calm men use when they want to feel reasonable. "I need a partner who understands growth. Someone who adds value, not someone who just exists." Naomi's fingers tightened slightly against her stomach. The baby shifted, a slow roll beneath her palm, like it sensed the change in air pressure. She breathed through it, in through her nose, out through her mouth, the same way her doctor had taught her, the same way she'd learned to breathe through boardrooms full of men who underestimated her before they knew her name. Marcus mistook the breath for resignation. "My mom warned me about you," he added, almost casually. "She said you were comfortable being small, said you'd cling once you realized what you were about to lose." That got a response. Naomi lifted her eyes. Calm, focused, dark irises steady like still water that ran deep and cold. "Your mother doesn't know me," she said quietly. Marcus scoffed. "She knows enough. She's seen your type before." The word hung there. Your type. Before Naomi could speak again, the front door opened. Evelyn Bell didn't knock. She never did. She entered spaces like she belonged there, chin high, purse tucked under her arm-dior coat, draped just right. A woman who believed struggle was something she had graduated from. Her heels clicked sharply as she stepped inside, stopping just short of the kitchen. "Well?" Evelyn asked. "Is it done?" Marcus turned, relief flickering across his face. Backup had arrived. "I'm handling it," he said. Evelyn's eyes moved to Naomi's belly, then back to her face. No softness, no hesitation, just calculation. "You should have done this months ago," Evelyn said. Before she got comfortable. Naomi felt it then. Not pain, not shock, something colder. The moment when you realize the people in front of you aren't confused, they're intentional. "I carried your son," Naomi said, her voice still low. "I carried your grandchild." Evelyn waved a dismissive hand. "Women have babies every day. That doesn't entitle you to anything." Marcus nodded. "Exactly." The word landed heavier than the rain outside. He stepped closer to Naomi now, lowering his voice like that made the cruelty cleaner. "You'll stay with your sister. I'll have my lawyer handle the rest. Don't make this harder than it has to be." Naomi almost smiled. Almost. Instead, she reached slowly for her phone on the counter. Not in a rush. No shaking. Just a deliberate motion that made Marcus frown. "What are you doing?" he asked. Naomi unlocked the screen. The phone looked ordinary. Matte black case. Slight crack in the corner. Marcus had once teased her for never upgrading. "I just need to make a call," she said. Evelyn laughed sharply. "To who?" "You don't know anyone." Naomi didn't look at her. She tapped a name. The call connected on the first ring. "Yes," Naomi said, her voice changing. Not louder, not sharper, just different. "It's me." Initiate protocol. Full scope. Effective immediately. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Not fear yet. Confusion. "Naomi," he said, trying to keep control. This isn't funny. She ended the call. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Marcus's phone began to vibrate. Once, twice, then continuously. His laptop on the counter chimed. Evelyn's phone followed seconds later, her confident expression faltering as she glanced down. "What did you do?" Marcus asked. Naomi finally turned fully toward him. "I stopped protecting you." The words were quiet, almost gentle. Marcus laughed. "Too fast. Too loud. Protecting me from what? You don't have that kind of power." Naomi tilted her head slightly, the way she did when someone said something inaccurate in a meeting. "The factory your mother works for," she said, calmly. "The one that's paid her salary for 14 years? The one you brag about at family dinners like it's proof of your legacy." Evelyn froze. "What about it?" she snapped. Naomi met her eyes. "I own it." Silence swallowed the room. Marcus shook his head. "No, that's not possible." Naomi finished. "It is." Evelyn's phone slipped from her hand, hitting the marble floor with a sharp crack. "That company," Evelyn whispered. "The ownership is private." Naomi nodded. "It is." Marcus's phone vibrated again. This time he looked. His face drained. "What does this mean?" he asked, his voice suddenly smaller. "Why is my account frozen?" Naomi didn't answer immediately. She walked toward the window instead, looking out at the city she had built systems in long before Marcus learned how to play ambitious. "It means," she said slowly, "that the life you've been living has been subsidized by a woman you thought was disposable." Evelyn sank into a chair. Marcus took a step back. Naomi turned to face them both, one hand returning to her belly. "Protective. Steady. You thought my silence meant I didn't understand power," she said. "You thought my patience meant I didn't see you." Her gaze settled on Marcus. "I saw everything." Outside, the rain intensified, streaking the windows like the city itself was trying to wash something away. This was only the beginning. Marcus tried to laugh again, but the sound wouldn't come out right this time. His throat felt dry, like the air in the condo had turned to powder. "Stop playing," he said, forcing a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "You're pregnant, you're emotional, and you're doing whatever this is to scare me." Naomi didn't move. That was the part that made it worse. Most people begged when they were afraid. Naomi just stood there, one hand on her belly, the other resting loosely by her side, like she had nowhere to rush to. Marcus's phone buzzed again, long enough that the vibration sounded like an insect trapped under glass. He looked down, and the screen was a wall of notifications. Not one, not two, a flood. He clicked the first alert without thinking. Account restriction notice. He swiped fast, eyes darting. Second notice, card declined. Third notice, authorized user removed. He stared as if the words might rearrange themselves into something less humiliating. His thumb hovered over the next message, then pressed. "Your account access has been temporarily suspended due to a security review." Marcus blinked hard, then looked up at Naomi like she had physically struck him. "What did you tell them?" Naomi's voice stayed even. "The truth." Evelyn snatched up her own phone with trembling fingers, unlocking it so quickly she mistyped her passcode twice. When the screen finally opened, her face changed in layers. Confusion first, then that kind of panic older people try to hide because it feels childish. She read silently at first, lips moving without sound. Then she whispered, "No." Marcus watched her. "What?" Evelyn didn't answer right away. Her chest rose and fell sharply, and when she finally looked up, the confidence she walked in with was gone. In its place was something more honest. "Fear. My payroll app," Evelyn said, voice tight. "It says employer connection terminated." Marcus stared at her. "That doesn't mean anything. It's a glitch." Evelyn shook her head slowly. "No, that's not a glitch." Naomi's cracked phone chimed again, soft, controlled, like the sound was coming from a system that didn't panic. Marcus turned back to Naomi. "You can't do this. Whatever you're doing, you can't just." Naomi interrupted him gently, not with anger, with clarity. "You don't know what I can do because you never tried to know who I was." He opened his mouth, then shut it. The words he had prepared were suddenly useless. A new alert popped onto his screen. Lease termination, effective immediately. Marcus's eyes flicked to the top, where the condo management company's name sat in bold. He felt his stomach drop. "This is my place," he said, more to himself than anyone else. "I pay for this." Naomi's gaze didn't move. "You don't," she said. Marcus swallowed. "What do you mean I don't?" Naomi's voice stayed quiet, but it carried weight now, like it had been waiting for the right time to be heard. The lease is held by a holding company. That holding company is owned by a trust. That trust is mine. Evelyn made a sound, half scoff, half gasp, like her brain refused to accept the humiliation without fighting first. This is insane, she snapped, standing up too fast. You're telling me you own the factory, you own this building. What? You own the whole city too? Naomi looked at her for a beat. Then she said, not the city, just that. And the way she said it made Evelyn's knees weaken. Because Naomi wasn't exaggerating. She was choosing what to admit. Marcus grabbed his phone like it was a weapon he could finally use. I'm calling the bank, he said. Right now. Naomi nodded once. Call. That nod broke something in him. He dialed with shaking fingers, pacing again like movement could undo the shame. The call connected after 3 rings. Yes, hello. This is Marcus Bell, he said fast, voice rising. My account is frozen. My cards aren't working. There's a mistake. A calm customer service voice responded with polished patience, the kind that sounded trained for emotional men. Mr. Bell, I'm seeing a security hold placed on your profile due to an ownership dispute. Marcus froze mid-step. Ownership dispute. I'm the owner. There was a pause, the kind that lasts 1 second too long. Mr. Bell, you are listed as an authorized user on the primary account. You are not the primary holder. Marcus's face flushed hot. No, that's not true. That account is mine. Mr. Bell, the voice continued, still calm. The primary holder has requested immediate removal of all linked access, and additional restrictions were placed due to flagged activity. Marcus looked toward Naomi like the air had been stolen from his lungs. Flagged activity? What activity? Sir, I'm not authorized to disclose details over the phone. You will receive formal documentation by email. I need access. Marcus snapped, loud enough that Evelyn flinched. I have bills. I have obligations. I have. Sir, the voice said, still calm. I understand. But the hold will remain until the review is completed. Marcus's jaw clenched. How long? Another pause. Sir, the review was initiated by our executive compliance team. Those timelines are not adjustable. Executive compliance. Marcus hung up without saying goodbye. He stared at his phone like it had betrayed him. His eyes lifted slowly toward Naomi. What did you tell them? He asked again. But this time the question sounded smaller. What did you say? Naomi didn't answer the way he expected. She simply asked, Do you remember the first year we were married? Marcus frowned. What? The first year, Naomi repeated. When you told your friends you saved me. Evelyn scoffed under her breath, but it didn't have the same power now. Marcus tried to keep his voice steady. I did help you. Naomi nodded. You did. You helped me learn how many people confuse charity with ownership. Marcus took a step toward her, frustration rising. Stop talking in riddles. You're not smarter than me, Naomi. Naomi's eyes didn't blink. I'm not trying to be smarter than you, she said. I'm trying to make you finally understand who you've been talking to. His phone chimed again. Another notification. He glanced down. Employment status update. Marcus opened it, and the words hit him so hard, he stopped breathing for a second. Effective immediately, your employment is suspended pending investigation. He stared, reread it, then looked up. That's not possible, he whispered. I don't even have a job. I'm a consultant. I'm building my own thing. Naomi's gaze slid to the laptop on the counter. Open your email, she said. Marcus didn't want to. Not in front of them. Not in front of Evelyn. Not in front of Naomi. But something in him needed to prove her wrong. He yanked the laptop open, fingers stiff. The screen lit up with a login page. His password didn't work the first time. He typed it again slower. Inbox. The first email at the top had a subject line that looked like an obituary. Notice of termination of contract services. Marcus clicked it, eyes scanning fast. He didn't read the whole thing. He didn't need to. All he saw was breach of ethics, violation of confidentiality, misrepresentation. He slammed the laptop shut. What is this? He demanded, voice cracking. This is fake. This isn't real. Evelyn's phone buzzed again, and this time she snatched it like it was a lifeline. But her face crumpled as she read. It says, she whispered, my building badge is deactivated. Marcus snapped. What building? Evelyn looked up slowly, and the humiliation on her face was deeper than anger. The factory, she said. The plant. Naomi's eyes didn't move. Evelyn stood up again, shaking. You're lying. You can't just deactivate my badge. Naomi spoke softly. It's already done. Evelyn's voice rose into disbelief. Who do you think you are? Naomi answered without raising her tone. The person who signed the documents. Marcus felt his stomach twist. He looked between them, caught in a power shift he couldn't reverse. Then, the door opened again. And this time, it was not Evelyn. Sabrina Cole walked in like she'd practiced it. She was dressed for victory, sleek black coat, shiny straight hair, glossy lips that looked expensive. She had a hand on her belly too, but it wasn't the same kind of gesture Naomi made. Sabrina's hand looked like a performance for a mirror. She paused in the doorway, smiling as if she expected applause. Hey babe, she said, voice sweet. You said it was done. Marcus stared at her like she'd walked into the wrong movie. Sabrina, he muttered. Why are you here? Sabrina's smile faltered for half a second. Because you told me to come. You said tonight was the night. Naomi didn't look at Sabrina first. She looked at Marcus. And Marcus saw it, the smallest shift in Naomi's eyes. Not rage. Not jealousy. Confirmation. Sabrina took 2 steps in, then stopped when she noticed Naomi's belly. The reality of it hit her like cold water. Oh, Sabrina said, blinking. So she's still here. Evelyn forced her shoulders back, grabbing at her old confidence like it was a coat she could put on to warm herself. Sabrina, don't worry, Evelyn said sharply. She's leaving. She's just being dramatic. Sabrina smiled again, but it wasn't kindness. It was that smug grin people wear when they think they're stealing a life. Well, Sabrina said, turning her attention to Naomi. I'm sorry this happened like this. But it's better for everyone. Marcus deserves someone who matches him. Naomi turned then, slowly, to look at Sabrina. Sabrina stiffened under that gaze. Something about Naomi's stillness made Sabrina's confidence wobble. Naomi's voice stayed soft. What do you do for work, Sabrina? Sabrina blinked. Excuse me. Marcus snapped. Naomi, stop. Naomi didn't stop. What do you do? She repeated calm. And where? Sabrina laughed lightly, trying to make it seem like Naomi was embarrassing herself. I'm in communications. Naomi nodded. Which company? Sabrina's smile tightened. Why does that matter? Naomi's cracked phone chimed again. She glanced down, then looked back up. It matters, Naomi said. Because you won't have that job tomorrow. Sabrina's face changed. What? Marcus barked a nervous laugh. You're not firing anybody. Naomi looked at him. Marcus, she said softly, you don't fire people. The words landed with a humiliating finality. Evelyn stepped forward, voice shaking now. If you're so powerful, why did you marry my son? Why did you live like this? Naomi's hand moved unconsciously over her belly again, and when she spoke, her voice carried something that sounded almost like sorrow, but restrained, contained. Because I wanted to see if love was real when it wasn't buying the room. Marcus's eyes narrowed. So this was some kind of test? Naomi didn't deny it. She didn't confirm it either. She just said, it was an opportunity. Sabrina scoffed. This is crazy. Marcus, tell her. Tell her to stop. Marcus opened his mouth, then his phone buzzed again. He looked down, and his face drained. Sabrina's phone buzzed too. So did Evelyn's. A triple vibration, all at once, like a synchronized punishment. Sabrina checked her screen first. Her eyes widened. What is this? She whispered. Marcus's voice was hoarse. What did you get? Sabrina's lips moved as she read. Background verification, she said. Credential review. She swallowed. It says, my employment is suspended pending investigation into falsified references. Sabrina snapped her head up at Marcus. That's not true. Naomi spoke calmly. It's not fully false. Sabrina's eyes flashed. Who are you? Naomi stepped closer, not aggressively, just enough that Sabrina felt the pressure. I'm the person who pays your company's security contractor, Naomi said, and the person who receives the compliance reports when staff misuse systems. Sabrina's face went pale. Evelyn gripped the back of the chair like her legs were unreliable. Marcus whispered, Naomi, please. That word, please, fell out of his mouth like it surprised him. He'd never said it to her like that before. Naomi looked at him, and for a second, Marcus saw something in her expression that scared him more than her wealth. Regret wasn't there. Mercy wasn't there. Only clarity. Naomi turned toward the door. She reached for her coat, slipping it on slowly like she had all the time in the world. Marcus stepped forward. Where are you going? Naomi answered without looking back. Home, she said. To the place I built before I ever met you. Evelyn's voice cracked. You can't just leave. You're married. Naomi paused at the door, hand on the handle. She finally looked back at them. Marcus, Evelyn, Sabrina. I am married, she said softly. To the truth. Then she opened the door. Cold air rushed in, carrying the wet smell of Detroit streets, car exhaust, rain-soaked concrete. And Naomi stepped out like she wasn't leaving a condo. She was leaving a lie. The door closed behind her with a quiet click. Marcus stood there staring, frozen. Because the silence she left behind wasn't emptiness. It was judgment. And somewhere in that silence, Marcus began to understand something he had never learned in his whole life. The worst punishment isn't losing money. It's realizing you never actually owned your own life. His phone buzzed again. One new message. He opened it. And the subject line made his knees weaken. Legal notice, service of process, emergency hearing requested. Marcus read it twice, then looked at Evelyn, then at Sabrina. What does an emergency hearing mean? Sabrina asked, voice shaking. Marcus didn't answer. Because on the email preview, he saw one name that stopped his breathing. Not Naomi. Not Belle. Not his. A name he'd never seen before. A corporate entity. A parent company. A structure above everything. And the sender line read, Office of General Counsel, Richardson Global Industrial. Marcus whispered, This is bigger than us. Evelyn's voice barely came out. What did you do to us? Marcus didn't know how to answer. Because Naomi hadn't done anything yet. Not publicly. Not officially. Not where people could see. And in this niche, the audience doesn't stay for the first punch. They stay for the moment the whole room finds out who the punch belonged to. Marcus stared at the email, hands shaking. And the last thing he saw before the screen dimmed was a single line near the bottom. Failure to appear will result in immediate enforcement actions. Enforcement. Marcus swallowed hard. Outside, the rain kept falling like it had no intention of stopping. And somewhere across the city, Naomi was walking into a building that would decide whether Marcus Bell was about to lose everything privately or in front of everyone. Marcus didn't sleep. He sat on the edge of the bed in the condo he was no longer sure he had the right to occupy, phone in his hands, refreshing his email like it might blink and tell him this was all a mistake. The city outside the windows was quiet in that late-night way that made everything feel exposed. No traffic, no sirens, just rain sliding down glass and the low hum of power running through a building that no longer answered to him. Evelyn sat on the couch in her coat, purse clutched tight in her lap, eyes fixed on nothing. She hadn't taken it off since Naomi left. It was like she believed if she stayed dressed, she could leave faster when this turned out to be some misunderstanding. Sabrina paced. She'd stopped pretending to be calm about 20 minutes ago. Her heels were off now, tossed somewhere near the door, her fingers digging into her hair every time her phone buzzed. This doesn't make sense, Sabrina kept saying. None of this makes sense. Companies don't just suspend people like that. There has to be a number I can call. Marcus didn't respond. He couldn't. His screen lit up again. Another message. He opened it slowly this time, like speed might make it worse. Notice of default, effective immediately. His chest tightened. Default on what? He scrolled. The car. The one he drove like proof. The one he'd parked downstairs assuming it would always be there. The payment hadn't gone through. Neither had the insurance. The policy was tied to an account he didn't control. His phone buzzed again. Lease violation. Occupancy review pending. Marcus let the phone drop to his side. Evelyn finally looked up. What now? Marcus swallowed. We might not be able to stay here. Evelyn's face tightened. This is your home. Marcus didn't say it out loud, but the truth was already there. It never was. Sabrina stopped pacing. I'm calling my lawyer. Marcus almost laughed. With what retainer? Evelyn snapped before he could stop her. Sabrina spun toward her. Excuse me. Evelyn stood, anger flaring sharp and desperate. Do you have any idea what you've walked into? This isn't some breakup drama. This is corporate. Sabrina's voice rose. I didn't do anything. Evelyn laughed bitterly. Neither did I. And look where that got me. The silence after that was heavy. Marcus's phone vibrated again. This time, it wasn't an email. It was a calendar notification. Emergency hearing, 9 a.m., Wayne County Civil Court. Marcus stared at the address. Downtown Detroit. The same building he'd driven past 100 times without thinking. Brick. Glass. Authority. What's that? Sabrina asked, stepping closer. Marcus didn't answer. Evelyn leaned in, squinting. Court. Marcus nodded slowly. For what? She asked. Marcus scrolled. Asset injunction, he said quietly. Employment review. Breach of fiduciary responsibility. Sabrina laughed once, sharp and nervous. That's business stuff. That doesn't have anything to do with me. Marcus didn't look at her. Your name is on one of the filings. Sabrina froze. What? Marcus finally looked up. They're saying you benefited from misappropriated resources. Sabrina shook her head violently. No, I didn't. Marcus, tell them. Tell them I didn't know. Evelyn sat back down, suddenly exhausted. Knowing doesn't matter, she said. Proximity does. Sabrina stared between them. You're all acting like she planned this. Marcus didn't answer immediately, but the truth was settling in, piece by piece, like a puzzle he didn't want to finish. Naomi hadn't reacted. She hadn't argued. She hadn't begged. She'd waited. And now, every structure around him was moving in coordination. Marcus whispered, She's been watching. Morning came fast. Too fast. The rain had stopped, leaving the city washed and cold. Marcus stood in the bathroom, staring at his reflection. His face looked different. Tired. Smaller. Like something had been taken that sleep couldn't fix. Evelyn knocked sharply. We're leaving in 10 minutes. Marcus nodded. Down in the garage, his key fob didn't work. He pressed it again. Nothing. Evelyn watched, jaw clenched. Sabrina tried her door. Same result. A security guard approached slowly, not aggressive, just professional. Can I help you? The guard asked. Marcus swallowed. The cars aren't unlocking. The guard checked his tablet. Those vehicles are flagged. Flagged how? Marcus snapped. The guard didn't flinch. Ownership review. Evelyn laughed bitterly. Of course they are. They took a rideshare instead. The irony burned. The courthouse loomed gray and heavy, steps wide and unforgiving. Marcus felt smaller with every step upward. Cameras flashed somewhere nearby. Not for him. Not yet. But the possibility was there. Always there. Inside, the air smelled like old paper and authority. They were escorted into a courtroom that wasn't large but didn't need to be. Power didn't require space. It required structure. Marcus's eyes scanned the room. Then he saw her. Naomi sat at the plaintiff's table. Not in black. Not in white. She wore a soft gray dress that fell clean over her pregnancy, tailored to fit without hiding it. Her locks were neat, her posture straight, hands folded calmly in front of her. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't scowling. She looked prepared. 2 men in suits sat beside her. One older, silver-haired, face unreadable. The other younger, sharp, flipping through documents with efficient precision. Marcus's chest tightened. Evelyn whispered, That's legal counsel. Sabrina whispered, For what? Marcus didn't answer. Naomi didn't look at them when they entered. Not once. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The proceedings began. Names were read. Entities listed. Holdings referenced. Marcus's head spun. Then Naomi's name was spoken. And after it, her company. Not the factory. Not the building. The parent structure. A name Marcus had never heard but felt the weight of immediately. The judge looked over his glasses. Ms. Bell, are you present? Naomi stood slowly. Yes, Your Honor. Marcus's throat tightened. The judge nodded. Proceed. Naomi's attorney stood. Your Honor, he began calmly. We are requesting immediate injunctive relief to prevent further misuse of assets by the defendant, Marcus Bell, and associated parties. Marcus's lawyer, appointed at the last minute, unsteady, stood to object, voice already defensive. The judge raised a hand. Counsel, I've reviewed the filings. Objection noted, but proceed. Marcus felt heat creep up his neck. Naomi's attorney continued, laying out timelines, transfers, authorizations. Not emotionally. Factually. Cleanly. He spoke about accounts Marcus believed were his. They weren't. He spoke about employment arrangements Marcus believed were independent. They weren't. He spoke about the factory Evelyn believed she'd earned her position in. She hadn't. The room stayed quiet. Too quiet. Marcus's lawyer whispered frantically, flipping pages. Sabrina's breath came shallow. Evelyn's hands trembled in her lap. Then the judge looked directly at Marcus. Mr. Bell, he said evenly, do you dispute that you were an authorized user on multiple accounts without primary control? Marcus opened his mouth. Closed it. I believe. Belief is not ownership, the judge said. Marcus swallowed. I didn't know. The judge nodded once. That is clear. The words landed harder than accusation. Naomi stood again. Your Honor, she said calmly, I'd like to address the court. The judge looked at her. Proceed. Naomi turned slightly, not to Marcus, not to Evelyn, but to the room. I entered my marriage without revealing my financial position, she said evenly. Not to test anyone, not to punish anyone, but because I believe partnership meant being seen without leverage. Marcus flinched. Naomi continued. What followed was not misunderstanding. It was exploitation. She paused. The accounts, properties, and professional protections extended to Mr. Bell were contingent upon trust. That trust was broken. The judge nodded. Marcus's lawyer stood, voice raised. Your Honor, with respect, this sounds punitive. Naomi didn't look at him. The judge did. Consequences are not punishment, the judge said. They are outcome. Marcus felt something collapse inside him. The ruling came swiftly. Asset freezes. Account separation. Temporary restraining orders against access. Employment suspensions upheld pending investigation. Evelyn's position flagged for review. Sabrina's benefits listed as subject to clawback. The gavel came down. Just like that. People began to stand. Naomi gathered her documents slowly, carefully. Marcus watched her finally turn. Their eyes met. For the first time since the condo. For a second, he thought he saw something there. Not anger. Not triumph. Just recognition. She nodded once. Not in greeting. In acknowledgement. Then she turned and walked out, her attorneys flanking her, the quiet authority of someone who didn't need to look back. Evelyn sank into her chair. Sabrina whispered, This isn't over. Marcus didn't respond. Because for the first time, he understood something that terrified him more than losing money. This wasn't revenge. This was exposure. And exposure didn't end in court. It ended when everyone else found out who you really were. The headlines didn't explode immediately. That was the part Marcus didn't expect. He thought humiliation came fast. Sirens, cameras, notifications lighting up phones all at once. He thought shame was loud, immediate, public. Instead, it arrived quietly. In fragments. In delays. In rooms where people stopped returning calls. Marcus sat in the back seat of the rideshare as the courthouse disappeared behind them, watching the city slide past the window. Detroit looked the same. Brick buildings. Coffee shops opening for the morning rush. People walking with purpose, unaware that his entire identity had just been legally dissected and found hollow. Evelyn stared straight ahead, jaw locked, so tight it looked painful. Sabrina hadn't said a word since they left the courtroom. Her confidence hadn't cracked loudly. It had drained out of her, leaving something pale and uncertain behind. Marcus's phone buzzed. He didn't jump this time. He already knew. He unlocked the screen slowly. A text from a number he didn't recognize. Marcus, we need to talk. Urgently. Another buzz. Call me as soon as you get this. He recognized the name this time. An investor. Not a close one. Not a friend. One of the ones who liked Marcus when he sounded successful and vanished when he sounded honest. Marcus typed a response. What's going on? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Reappeared. Then the reply came. We've been advised to pause all involvement until further notice. Pause. The word felt surgical. Marcus swallowed and stared at the screen until it dimmed. Sabrina leaned closer. Who was that? Marcus didn't answer. Another buzz. Email this time. Subject line. Internal review. Immediate action required. He opened it. The language was polished. Legal. Careful. But the meaning was simple. They were distancing themselves. Everyone was. Evelyn finally spoke. We need to regroup. Marcus laughed softly. Not because it was funny. Because the word sounded ridiculous. Regroup where? He asked. Evelyn snapped. I don't know, Marcus. But sitting in silence isn't going to fix this. Marcus looked out the window again. Silence was all he had left. By noon, the leaks began. Not headlines. Not articles. Whispers. An executive assistant Marcus hadn't spoken to in months sent a short message. Hope you're okay. Things are moving. A former colleague posted a vague status about integrity in leadership. Someone else shared an article about financial ethics. No names. No accusations. Just proximity. And proximity was enough. Marcus's phone rang. A number he knew too well. The factory. He hesitated, then answered. Hello. The voice on the other end was formal. Too formal. Mr. Bell, this is to inform you that effective immediately, Your access privileges are revoked. This includes on-site visits, digital correspondence, and representation. Marcus closed his eyes. I don't work there, he said weakly. No, the voice replied. But you benefited from association. The call ended. Evelyn slammed her purse down when she heard the tone. What now? Marcus shook his head slowly. They cut me off. Evelyn's face twisted. That factory is my career. Marcus finally turned to her. Was. The word hung there between them, sharp and final. Evelyn's shoulders slumped for the first time. She looked older, smaller. The woman who had walked into the condo with authority now sat hunched, staring at the floor like she was afraid it might give way beneath her. Sabrina broke the silence. I need to go, she said suddenly. Marcus frowned. Go where? She stood, adjusting her coat like she was trying to rebuild herself piece by piece. I need distance. This isn't what I signed up for. Evelyn scoffed bitterly. None of us did. Sabrina snapped back. I didn't marry into this. Marcus watched her carefully. That's true, he said quietly. She hesitated. Marcus, I didn't know. I swear. He believed her, and that made it worse. She grabbed her bag and stepped out of the car at the next stop without looking back. The door shut softly. Marcus stared at the empty seat. Another thing gone. The afternoon stretched long and heavy. Marcus and Evelyn returned to the condo to find an envelope taped neatly to the door. Evelyn ripped it open with shaking hands. Notice of occupancy review. They had 48 hours. Marcus laughed again, this time hollow. She's efficient. Evelyn turned on him sharply. Don't say her name like that. Marcus didn't respond. He walked into the living room and sat down, staring at the city from the same window Naomi had stood by. Only now, the view felt different, like it belonged to someone else. His phone buzzed again. This time, it was a news alert. He hesitated before opening it. The headline didn't mention him. It mentioned the factory. Manufacturing firm announces internal audit amid leadership restructure. Marcus scrolled. His name wasn't there. Neither was Evelyn's. But the language was unmistakable. Unethical affiliations. Reputational risk. Values realignment. Marcus felt his chest tighten. They're erasing us, he whispered. Evelyn sank onto the couch. They're rewriting history. Marcus thought of Naomi in the courtroom. Calm. Prepared. Not triumphant. This wasn't erasure. It was correction. By evening, the calls slowed. By night, they stopped. No one wanted to be the last one holding on to a sinking story. Marcus lay awake again, staring at the ceiling, listening to Evelyn's quiet breathing from the guest room. His phone buzzed once more. This time, it was a message request. Unknown sender. He opened it. You should have listened. No name. No signature. Just 4 words. Marcus typed back. Is this Naomi? 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. No response. Marcus stared at the screen until his vision blurred. The next morning, the knock came early. Too early. Evelyn answered the door. 2 men stood there. Professional. Neutral. Clipboards in hand. Occupancy review, one said. Marcus watched from the hallway as they stepped inside, measuring, documenting, cataloging a life he had believed was permanent. He felt invisible. One of the men glanced at Marcus briefly. Not with anger. With indifference. That was the moment it finally hit him. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about punishment. Naomi wasn't trying to hurt him. She was removing him. And removal was worse. Because pain ends. But irrelevance lingers. Marcus stood there as the men finished their work and left, the door closing behind them with a soft, final sound. Evelyn sat down slowly, hands shaking. What are we going to do? She asked. Marcus didn't answer right away. He walked back to the window, looked out at the city, at people moving forward without him. And for the first time, the truth settled in completely. Naomi hadn't taken his future. She'd revealed that he'd never actually built one. His phone buzzed again. One final notification. A calendar reminder he hadn't set. Public disclosure window opens, 72 hours. Marcus stared at it. And somewhere deep inside, something colder than fear took hold. Because private humiliation was survivable. Public exposure wasn't. And he knew, without anyone telling him, that Chapter 5 wouldn't be about what Naomi did. It would be about what everyone else finally saw. The public never wakes up angry. It wakes up curious. That was the first mistake Marcus made. Thinking exposure would arrive as outrage instead of interest. He expected backlash. Accusations. A flood of opinions crashing all at once. Instead, The morning began like any other. Coffee poured. Radios hummed. Phones scrolled. And then, quietly, something shifted. Marcus saw it happen in real time from the edge of a bed he no longer felt entitled to sleep in. His phone rested on the nightstand, screen glowing faintly, untouched for nearly an hour. He'd stopped refreshing, stopped checking, stopped hoping. Then the first notification arrived. Not a headline. A repost. Someone he barely remembered from college had shared an article about corporate governance with a single caption. Interesting timing. Marcus's chest tightened. Another notification followed. Then another. Different people. Same tone. Vague. Curious. Detached. The story didn't name him. Not yet. It talked about a privately held industrial conglomerate, about internal audits, about unexpected ownership disclosures. It talked about values, about quiet leadership, about structures hidden in plain sight. And woven between the lines was a simple implication. Someone powerful had decided to stop staying invisible. Evelyn entered the room slowly, holding her phone like it weighed too much. "They're talking," she said. Marcus didn't look up. "About what?" Evelyn swallowed. "About her." Marcus closed his eyes. The article spread because it didn't accuse. It invited. Readers leaned in, intrigued by the mystery of a woman who owned factories, buildings, and supply chains, and yet lived like a ghost beside people who mistook proximity for power. By noon, the tone shifted. A financial blog published a follow-up. This one named the factory. Still no Marcus. Still no Evelyn. Just ownership structures. Dates. Quiet timelines. People love timelines. They make betrayal feel earned. Marcus's phone rang. He ignored it. It rang again. And again. Finally, he answered. "Marcus," a familiar voice said. Tight. Controlled. "Why am I seeing your name in comment sections?" Marcus laughed once, sharp. "Because it belongs there." "Did you know?" The voice pressed. Marcus didn't answer. The silence answered for him. The call ended without goodbye.